But why is it that when a bro gets something wrong, he's an idiot? But when a science researcher gets something wrong, he's learning from science. Do you see the double standard there? When you're jumping into bodybuilding discussion within the bodybuilding community, do so with a bit of respect, man. All right. Hey, folks. So here we are again. Here we are again. There was a study released recently which showed that there really is no benefit to lengthened partials in the face of full range of motion. I want to talk about that a little bit, not in the sense of laughing at people and telling them that we were right all along, really just more about how we can learn from this as a community, because that's my interest. I'm a coach, not a researcher. My interest is getting people results and keeping them away from fads and distractions, which I feel there is a lot of in the space. So this is going to be my own take on the situation at the moment. But just to give you a bit of background, for the past few years, there's been a growing voice saying that lengthened partials are not only a good thing, but also superior, to the point where some people are training in exclusively lengthened stretch position, and that's it, foregoing full range of motion altogether. It's gotten that far that people are foregoing full range of motion in exchange for just training at the stretch position. So the level of belief in this is pretty extreme. People are foregoing traditional training altogether. Now, my interest is always in what can we learn from this, because I've seen these cycles repeat themselves. But I think before we get into that, what was quite interesting was the reaction from some of the research celebrities who put out this information on social media. Brad Schoenfeld in particular, his reaction was actually quite spicy. He seemed almost a little bit bitter, and he went on the offensive, saying that when research is out, it's time to learn, but some people really just use it to confirm their own bias. Really went on the sort of aggressive with that. And I found that reaction to be not altogether surprising, and I am going to talk about that in a moment, about what we can learn from that. And there was also a reel released from Dr. Pak, who I quite like, actually. I think he's generally pretty straight down the middle when it comes to this stuff. But again, it came across as quite spicy, as he was almost preempting the ridicule they were going to receive for being wrong yet again. But I want to explain, perhaps to Brad, perhaps to Dr. Pak, perhaps to some people who sympathize with this crowd of scientific researchers, why people are a little bit upset and why people are quite happy to go, ha, you guys, we told you so. So maybe I can provide a perspective they haven't looked at yet, and altogether we can all come to a better understanding and we can all get along, because at the end of the day, I don't like all this drama. All I want to do is make sure that you guys are getting jacked. My full-time business is being a coach, and that's my interest. I will get inquiries from people who are completely brainwashed and confused by all this noise, to the point where they're paralyzed from making gains. And I don't think these researchers necessarily appreciate their role, the role that they played in that confusion. Maybe they don't. And that's what I want to talk about, in the hopes of reaching some of you guys. Hopefully you guys see me as somebody who refuses to engage in this back and forth. I just want to give you the good message to make sure you progress. And that's my interest. So when I saw the reaction from Brad and Dr. Pak, I just want to explain why people are throwing it back in their face now, in the hopes that you guys will understand. And listen, just as a quick aside, if you are feeling confused, if you're feeling lost and you don't know what to think, there is help, right? In fact, I have 3 free programs on Boostcamp. So you can go on, you can plug it into your phone, you can try it for free, my programs, which work. They are tested on dozens of clients and they work. They have sensible frequency, volume, intensity recommendations. This video is sponsored by Boostcamp, and I have made available for you guys 3 free routines which you can try today. So if you are really confused, you can quite literally download Boostcamp to your app, use the code Fazlifts, you can crack on with that routine, you can start that next week. Give it a go. I would prefer you to do that than try to wade through all the nonsense on social media. I've used these routines on dozens of people. They work. They are backed by my recommendations that I make on this channel, and they are backed by my sponsor, Boostcamp. Use code Fazlifts when you sign up, and I've got you. So anyway, back to the video. I think there are three main takeaways from this for everyone involved. The first takeaway, I think, is for everyone, including myself, and I like to think I'm okay in this area. I think when you are entering into a debate, you should enter in with the spirit of science. The spirit of science is unbiased, without ego, looking to learn, educate, and grow. Now, I think it's fair to say there are some science educators out there who come into the bodybuilding community with a slight sense of arrogance and label anything they don't agree with as bro science in a derogatory way to dismiss it. Oh, that's bro science. That's BS. That's just bro law. Bros are stupid. Putting on funny accents going, oh yeah, brother, I'm a bro. And trying to make fun of the bodybuilding community, who has been doing, I just want to say at this point, has been doing just fine without these science researchers. They haven't added much to the mix. You've got guys who are the best of the best, and you've got millions and millions of trainees who have got great results over the last 4 or 5 decades without the aid of science. So the bodybuilding community is doing just fine. The protein recommendations, the frequency, the volume is all just fine without the input. So my perspective is, if you're entering into a bodybuilding discussion, try not to enter in on the offensive. Try not to make out all the bros are idiots. I'm not saying everything the bros say is correct, because it's not. Like, sometimes bros get things wrong. But why is it that when a bro gets something wrong, he's an idiot? But when a science researcher gets something wrong, he's learning from science. Do you see the double standard there? So my perspective is, for the first point, this is for everyone. Right? When you're jumping into bodybuilding discussion within the bodybuilding community, do so with a bit of respect, man. Whether you're a bro or whether you're a science guy, we're all just looking to get jacked, aren't we? Right? Do it with a bit of respect. Don't make your bros out to be idiots. At the same time, don't make the science guys out to be geeks, okay? Just have a bit of respect, a bit of mutual respect. Because if you enter into a discussion with a sense of undeserved arrogance, and then you go and get a bunch of things wrong over the last 10 years, people are going to laugh at you. So don't get upset. Don't now start to say, well, these people are using it to justify their own beliefs. You entered into the entire bodybuilding discussion, putting down the bros and calling them idiots and making little funny memes with the angry face and the educated face. Don't then be surprised that people turn around and reciprocate that same energy you gave out when you were so confident. Sometimes it feels like I'm back at school breaking up a fight between two kids, you know, like, yes, Daniel, I completely understand why you're so upset that Jack punched you in the face. But Daniel, can you understand that maybe he punched you in the face because you pulled his chair out from him and he fell on the floor? It's it's a bit obvious from where I'm sitting. Right? Just don't act like a jackass and you won't be treated like one. Simple. Be respectful. Be nice. We're all here for the same reason. And I do understand why people have to do that, because they're making a name for themselves. But listen, if that's the case, then take the rough with the smooth. You were confident when you thought you were right. Now you're wrong. Take your licks. Don't moan about it now. That looks bad. So that's the first point. Enter into the discussion with the right intentions, the right spirit. And if you don't want to do that, then take your licks. Now, the second point is, this is for everyone. Don't be so quick to jump onto fads and trends. If something comes out and it's supposed to revolutionize bodybuilding, maybe just approach it with caution. Nothing is going to revolutionize bodybuilding right now. Absolutely nothing. Okay. Just see what happens. Give it a couple of years, give it a few years, carry on doing the majority of what you're doing. Don't get distracted. And also, if you're one of these guys, you're one of these coaches or researchers, maybe just don't be so quick to jump on studies when we haven't yet fully evaluated the strength of those studies. This is a common mistake. And this is a mistake that, with respect to Brad, this is a mistake he's committed as well, is equating the volume of studies with the strength. Just because we have a growing library of studies to support a certain thing doesn't mean that's a good thing. Okay, 100 bad studies is still bad science. You have to evaluate the strength of the study, the strength of the message. One really well put together study can demolish dozens of poor studies. And that's pretty much exactly what happened just now with the latest study. So for second point is, don't be so quick to jump onto fads and trends, and don't make strong recommendations based off relatively new and unproven ideas. As a sort of a tag-on point to that, the number of studies are not an indication of the strength of that research. We need good research, not a lot of it. And I think some of these science-based influencers, they would do well to just be a bit more moderate in what they're putting out there. Because you've got to remember, and I'll just take it back to the point of the video, my interest in this is I'm a coach, I'm not a YouTuber. So it's in my interest to give you good information rather than clickbaity titles. I think some guys, not pointing fingers, but it's fair to say some guys are more interested in the clicks, the views, because they're going for the numbers and the YouTube game rather than coaching. In fact, some of them don't coach anymore at all. So that will tell you something. There's a big difference between being a coach and LARPing as one on YouTube, right? So that's the second thing. Now, the third thing is something for everyone, because this type of cycle has played itself out many times over the last decade. There was the NPS research. If you remember that, everybody was training full body 6 days a week. There was the volume research. Everybody was ramping up the volume super high. All of that has been walked back, just like this stuff has been walked back. So my point is, why aren't we evaluating what went wrong? That's my question. Why aren't we evaluating what went wrong? Because for me, it's pretty obvious. The strength of the lengthened partial research just wasn't there. This is a point that I've made in the past. This is a point that Lyle McDonald has made in the past, and he's been ignored. He questioned the strength of the high volume research in a debate with Mike Israetel, and that was mostly ignored. But then look what happened. It didn't pan out. Same with the lengthened partial research. It's not panning out because the strength of the research isn't there. So let's evaluate what went wrong. Why were the majority of those research pieces so poorly done? Why was that evidence so weak? And why was that allowed to pass in this field? As a bit of a sort of a bit of advice to all of you guys watching who aren't research guys, who don't have a background in research, who aren't involved in research, for the most part, I wouldn't believe any of it. I know that's a strong statement, and sorry if that gets you upset. I'm just pointing out the track record. It hasn't really worked out. The NPS stuff, the high volume stuff, the lengthened partial stuff, it hasn't really worked. So all I'm saying is, the third point, why aren't we evaluating what's going wrong? Because you can tell why people are starting to get skeptical. You can tell why people are saying, you guys, you got it wrong again, because they're tired of it. It's all these three things I've said. They're perhaps coming across as a little bit arrogant. I think there's definitely a sense of that with some people. They're jumping onto trends, making recommendations very quickly, and then they're not evaluating when things go wrong. So those are my 3 points. And that, I think, sums up, I would say, for me, the last 10 years of this group of researchers and what they've accomplished. In effect, they have put a lot of people on the wrong track, which is problematic for me. As I say, I make a living being a coach. I don't make a living doing YouTube stuff. So when I get somebody who's so brainwashed into inaction by all this nonsense to the point where they're making no progress, I have to retrain them onto the right priorities. They struggle to really accept that because they almost have this Stockholm syndrome where they've been convinced by the same people who are holding their progress back, they're doing the right thing. So anyway, I hope you guys understand this is not a drama video. I'm not a drama channel. Understand, I have a real vested interest in helping people get results, get jacked. I don't play the YouTube game. My interest is in getting people to stop focusing on distractions and focusing on things that matter. So you can look through my hypertrophy fundamentals playlist for my recommendations. You can watch my videos, but this one was just really a cautionary tale around some of the really vocal voices that we see and how they get things wrong. And hopefully, if one of you guys are watching, I'm sure they don't watch my stuff, but if you are, just understand this video was made in a friendly spirit, and I'm trying to help. I think if you just took on board what I said here, these 3 points, and maybe changed your approach to future science and to future research, you wouldn't have such a negative pushback, and you wouldn't feel the need to make reels where you come across as a little bit spicy and a little bit upset. So I'm going to call it there. Peace out. Hope you guys have a great weekend. All right. Take care.